Alright, what is going on YouTube? Valas versus Slam, the final spot that's going to be taken here in the final deciders of Red Bull Wololo for second qualifiers. These two players have played their set earlier today, so around 10 a.m. GMT. They have played their own respective sets, or at least I think Valas did. Slam played sometime yesterday evening or so, but they didn't play in the original time frames that the round of 16s was actually assigned to. It's going to be a best of 7 in between these two players. Whoever wins is going to get into the main event of Red Bull Wololo 4. Whoever loses is out. Disclaimer, before we actually get going with this set, I have woken up at 5 a.m. today to cast Age of Vampires, and I've been casting for 9 hours, so if my casting is potato, I sincerely apologize. But welcome everyone to Arabia. We're going to have a Hans versus Magyars matchup over here. Slam is going to play Hans on the right side in red. Left side is going to be Valas the Finn in yellow. As Magyars, the two Cav Archer civilizations, so to say. And it's also a debatable civilization matchup. We'll talk about that in a moment once we have a bit of a peaceful moment as Slam runs into the Spearman right at the beginning. So here's the deal. Oftentimes, Magyars are criticized for not having enough identity, being very similar to other civs. Guess what? They are very similar to Huns, and it very much seems like Valas is coming in here with a mission to kill a Vil. Magyars with the free forging definitely have a better Vil snipe potential than Huns are, and it looks like Valas may have overextended here a little bit trying to snipe that Vil, and ends up just losing the HP on his scout. Valas isn't really walling that much, as Slam is going for a much more defensive approach. Slam kinda has to be defensive because Magyars will have a much better scouts early on, so you don't really want to be aggressive against them because they have better spearmen to defend, and Magyars, if they just take an open field battle against you, they will just win with the scouts. So you probably want to stay back a little bit more at home, try to wall yourself up, and then you can potentially move out with your scouts with Huns. I wouldn't be surprised to see, considering that currently in Empire Wars the Cav Archers seem to be more and more meta, to have full Cav Archer play in here in Castle Age, especially mid to late Castle Age, and that is a mistake from Slam. Not sure if this is the first game of the day for him or not, but that is an enormous mistake. Not checking the edge of the forest. I think he may have been trying to do it, but it was a little too late nonetheless. And yeah, he tried to do it because he's doing it on the same, like on the other side as well. But that hurts really badly because those Magyar scouts now come in, and they are here to snipe Vils, and this is going to be painful for Slam to clean up. Now, speaking of being painful to clean up, Slam also has some scouts inside the base of Valas, but they're not actually actively killing Vils over here. There's also a Magyar Spearman out here, which is going to help out against the scouts, and is Valas going to find another Vil kill? The Magyar scouts here help immensely, and indeed there is another Vil pick off here. 2-0 is the villager KD right now. Excellent start for Valas. So, what you have to know about Valas while we're waiting over here, because everybody knows Slam. What you have to know about Valas is that he's one of the lesser known Finnish players, and speaking of Finnish, that is a third villager being finished off here by our yellow guy, and we are gonna have a massive, massive lead here for Valas. If you look at the resources, it's even more brutal. Slam tries to retaliate by picking off a Vil. Valas could have just fought that with the Vil itself, but he will just poke it down with the Spearman. And really, at this point, Valas is about to click up into Castle Age. Slam is nowhere close. Oh boy, that is why. He was so busy chasing down those scouts that he wasn't even able to look at his TC mass-producing Vils. I mean, he would still not be able to click up even if these Vils being cancelled, but still, it looks like the damage that Valas has done with the scouts was bigger than anticipated. He killed 3 Vils, but look at this, 8 minutes idle time as well. The combination of these two mean that Slam is just going to be so late to Castle Age, and Magyars live and die with power spikes. The ability to hit Castle Age fast and then go for the Iron Casting Knights are just amazing, and that's exactly what Valas is gonna do. On the other side, considering that Slam is gonna be behind, it's going to be a rough one for him, because normally triple range Cav Archers could work quite nicely, but Cav Archers need some time to mess, and I feel like you could easily find yourself being overrun by double stable +2/+2 knights with a forward siege workshop and scorpions. So yeah, one thing I want to finish about Valas over here is that he's a Finn, but he's not actually playing with the other Suomi guys, so he's not member of the team Suomi currently, but a good performance in Red Bull Wololo might convince Max, Vilas, Rubenstag, Zupi, and I guess Pike as well, to pick up Vilas, or pick up Valas into the main roster of Suomi as well, and after that, everybody would have all the fun time at confusing Vilas with Valas. Nonetheless, that's going to be double stable knights over here. Bit of a sloppiness that this one is not producing, and this one has 2 queued up. That's actually very sloppy here from Valas. How did that happen? How did that happen? I have no idea. And Slam now tries to find a will kill here, still unable to do so. As the knights are now coming in for Valas, he is anticipating Slam to go for knights though. This is a mistake. And, well, execution-wise, I think Valas caught the start a lot better. Keep in mind that Valas was never performing in the highest stage of competition, so he's a little bit more inexperienced in tournament settings, and because of that, I think that he was anticipating the Hanik stable and knights here, and that's why he's adding monks. But that's a wrong decision. It was, I think, blatantly obvious that it is going to be a triple range Cav Archer play from Slam, because he won't come back in terms of economy if the opponent goes for multiple TC boom. So the best thing that he can do is go for a super aggressive early Castle Age Cav Archer play. And because of that, that Monk is going to be next to useless. Like, it's going to be good to heal up the Cav Archer or the Knights, but that's basically it. And now, Valas will probably see the ranges. Slam is not even on triple ranges, he's on 4. Quadruple range Cav Archers. Hans might be able to facilitate this production. It's going to be very, very close, but one thing is sure. Slam won't need a lot of time to get a huge amount of Cav Archers on the field, and I think that the Cav Archers is definitely a better decision over here. Knights could have worked nicely if these Knights were accompanied by a forward siege workshop and potentially Scorpions. But that's not the case. This TC is going to be nice over here. This TC is alright, but the primary gold is very exposed to Cav Archers. Cav Archers can just chill here and deny this gold mine easy peasy. Now here comes the Siege Workshop, and remember that Cav Archers need a lot of upgrades to be viable. So you need a good number of them, number 1. Number 2, you need the Bloodlines Husbandry. Bloodlines is in, Husbandry is on the way. Ballistics, Thumbring ideally. And all of these, you have to keep them together until you have like 25 at least in a group. Otherwise, they will just get picked off by individual knights. And this gives a time for Valas to just press on here and play for gold denial. Because one thing that he could do is get a Mangonel out and deny the gold income for Slam, and pretty much make Slam unable to get any more Cav Archers out. Ballistics on the way for Slam. Eco upgrade wise, it is slightly better for Valas, but he's missing +2 defense, which is an enormous mistake right now, considering that he's up against Cav Archers. So he needs +2 defense, otherwise Slam will clap him with the Cav Archers. Look at this. Cav Archers will eat Knights with +1 defense. What is Valas doing? That's an awful play from him. And I did mention that tournament experience is on the side of Slam, as he's going to retreat. I like that he's not overextending. He doesn't want to rush out and potentially fall into a trap. For now, he will just try to pick off as many Knights as he can, because these Knights, for whatever reason, are missing the +2 defense. An enormous mistake from Valas. I don't know what to think about that. Slam's economy is absolutely awful. He's got 4 farmers, and the reason why is because these Knights break in here. Where did these guys come from? Hold on for a moment. Oh, they broke in on the right side. They broke in on the right side, and neither me or Slam noticed that because we were so focused on the middle, and this is what I was referring to. That with Cav Archers, you have to keep all of them together, because otherwise they are inefficient. With Knights, you can send them all around, and Slam, right now his economy is under massive, massive pressure. So now it's 7 eco KD. Look at the will count for Valas. He's free TC booming. I think the problem for Slam is that while he has the Cav Archers, I mean, he's already behind by 25 wills. That is enormous. 25 wills deficit in a 15-minute Empire Wars game is absolutely brutal. And even though Slam has the cheap Cav Archers, at this point, Valas has such a big eco lead that Valas could just go triple range Cav Archers himself. I don't like that he's going for the Knights here though. He seems to just be intending to overrun his opponent with Knights, but at this point the good decision from Valas would be to switch into Cav Archers and just flat out win on better numbers. Because currently Slam has 22 Cav Archers, Valas only has 6 army overall, finally getting +2 defense. Imagine what Valas could have done if he had the defensive upgrade. Like, those Cav Archers ate the Knights for breakfast. It was a massive mistake not having the upgrade in there for the Knights. So yeah, I'm somewhat puzzled on Valas' decision, and I feel like right now what I'm seeing is that Valas has better execution, but Slam has way better game plan. Still, these Knights could easily trap these Cav Archers in here, but I just don't know if 4 Knights is the way to go. Still, remember that Slam's eco is just stretched out so thin. The problem that he's facing is that unless he's like actively killing wills, he's not going to have a chance at, you know, coming back into this one economically. And the Cav Archer blob is getting massive now, as he's picking off a couple of wills. I don't think Slam knows that he's that much ahead, and I also don't think that the Valas knows he's that much ahead. It seems like we're gonna have a siege workshop with Scorpions and a counterattack. This could be an interesting concept, although might just be for a surround, but here's the deal. If you counterattack Slam here, Slam is gonna have no defense back at home. And the reality is that Slam isn't able to do damage to Valas right now, right? So Valas has Wills garrisoned inside TCs, which is far from ideal, but look at this. Valas coming in for a counterattack, and this could be more devastating what Slam could do to him. Valas might lose a couple of Wills, but every single Will that's lost is much more important for Slam than it is for Valas, because obviously Slam's economy is a lot weaker in general. Now, Valas still needs to be careful though, because if there is one way to lose this game, it would be this one, and that could be a massive amount of Wills being killed. Slam's eco is gone, basically entirely, but let's see if Valas is going to lose his stuff as well. There's a couple of Scorpions chasing. Not a huge amount of Knights here to clean this one up though, and it looks like Valas will just send the Wills back to work while the Cav Archers are rampaging the farms. I mean, Slam is dead, and if this army gets cleaned up, Slam will probably call it, because Slam is gonna have nothing. And I think it's slowly getting cleaned up. Like, you can see that they're being ground down in numbers really badly here. The town center doesn't have fletching, so it won't do that much of a damage, but Slam is down to 19 Cav Archers and absolutely no economy. 44 Wills. His opponent, he had a lot of idle time, so you see both Valas and Slam had massive amounts of idle time, but 94 Wills versus 44, that's more than double the Will count right now. And as I said, at this point, Valas could just go for his own Cav Archers and flat out win on better numbers. I think that would be the best decision to do. He also picked up one relic from the middle, just for the sake of it. But that was it. 20 Wills. Like, the surprising thing here is that the villager KD is actually pretty close. 20 to 15. The difference is when those villager kills came in. Because Valas' Will kills were all super early. These setbacks Slam quite heavily in castle age timing, in expanding the economy. Whereas the Will kills for Slam came in much later, so killing 10 Wills when the opponent has 90 is completely different than killing 10 Wills when the opponent has 40. And that's exactly what we're seeing over here. So despite the fact that theoretically the villager KD is very close, the timing of those was so different, as Slam is buying stone to add an additional town center. But at this point, Slam doesn't really have the Cav Archer numbers. The only way that Valas could throw this away is not switching to Cav Archers, to be honest. Because, really, okay, now he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. It could be Elite Skirm as well, but I think just flat out Cav Archers will be better. Remember that Honey Cav Archers are cheaper though, but as we progress closer and closer to Imperial, Magyar Cav Archers will become more and more viable because they will be the ones that will have Recurve Bow in Imperial. So, in early Castle Age and generally until Recurve Bow, Hunnic Cav Archers are better, but after that, probably Magyar Cav Archers all the way. It's gonna be Elite Skirm. Like, why is Valas not thinking about Cav Archers? Remember that if he's giving time to Slam, like a lot of time, Slam could reboom. Huns are Huns, we know that. And Slam is on 3 TCs. Valas is on 4. There is multiple win conditions here for Valas. Go into Imperial, get Cavalier, steamroll your opponent. Get Cav Archer, steamroll your opponent. Or, yeah, basically those are the two possibilities here for Valas right now. Because the thing is that if he's just sitting back chilling, his opponent will eventually come back in will count. We have seen on multiple occasions that even if you can have like 1 million wills advantage, if you don't do anything and just sit back home, then your opponent will eventually overcome that eco deficit. So we're gonna have Elite Skirms without defense upgrades. That's far from ideal either, but like at this point Valas is completely fine economically, but he needs to be careful not to have Slam outboom him. Still, Cav Archers are not actually meant to be units that, you know, just directly push up and fight straight ahead. They are hit and run units, and because they're hit and run units, you kind of have to hit and run. And that's exactly what we're seeing. The timing for Valas, and I'm gonna replay that. I'm gonna replay that. That's the disadvantage of using the delete trick. Look at this. You pop out the mangonel, boom, delete trick, and it misses. So now that's -1 mangonel. Slam's reaction there was super sharp, and that was a massive failure there for Valas. He tried the delete trick, but that didn't actually work out. So Slam still has a pretty decent force over here, as his opponent should have like 1 million times more resources than he does. 50 on food should allow him to go into Imperial in 5 seconds, as the Scorpions are now taking some downhill shots. Slam's Cav Archer numbers are once again growing, and keep in mind that the cheap Hunnic Cav Archers with 60 villas is something that can be sustained pretty nicely. So I feel like Valas might be letting this slip out of his grasp a little bit. It would be an enormous throw if he actually allowed this one to fall into the hands of Slam, but I have to say that, as I said before many times, Slam is less dead right now than he used to be 10 minutes ago. Still, once the Elite Skirms get the +2 or +1/+2 defense, they should have no combat or nothing basically from Slam that can actually fight them. Especially with the heal here. Slam, this is not gonna be efficient for him anyways. And there is no siege weapons inside the siege workshop right now. But when +2 defense comes in here for Valas, he should be able to dominate those Cav Archers. And Slam doesn't really have the economy to actually switch into like Knights or something. He can make a siege workshop, that's the best he can do. And Valas actually wants to drop a castle in the face of his opponent, goes into Imperial. And now that you're going into Imp, I would say I would still prefer Cav Archers, but you could make a case for just Cavalier, because you will have +4 attack immediately, grab +4 defense, and just keep raiding with Cavalier. One thing I actually massively dislike for Valas is something that he just now started again. Send Knights to raid. Because as I said, the Cav Archers kind of need to be kept together, so if they are here, they're definitely not defending. And uh-oh, that's actually bad for Valas. Valas has a bit of an overboom with 150 bills, so it's not like it's an awful scenario that he loses 5 of them, especially when he kills a couple from Slam here as well. So, at this point, I feel like ever since Slam has gotten to a decent amount of Cav Archers, he has been outplaying Valas in every possible way, I would say. So, he has been performing much better. The problem is that he's so much behind that it might be too much to overcome. A defensive castle at a nice position here on the right side by Valas. But Valas is playing way too defensive here. I think his advantage is enough to potentially finish off the game. But if he continues to play like this one in the upcoming games, Slam is gonna stomp him, I'm not gonna lie. Because at this point, ever since that early Cav Archer push by Slam, Slam has been dominating the game. You see that the Verger KD is now heavily in his favor, and he's picking off wheels left and right. So Valas currently is winning not because of his current play, it is because, you know, he won the game in Feudal Age pretty much. Still, lack of mobility is a problem, and I just don't know why he's not going for his own CA. He could easily dominate the battlefield with the exact same unit that the Slam has, just more of it because he's got the numbers, and Valas will win. But I think if I am Valas here, that's a bittersweet win. Because Valas was in such a big advantage for the entire game, yet struggled so mightily to close this one out, that, like, at some point, it looked like Slam might have a small chance at coming back. But considering how big of a punishment, or how big of a deficit Slam had, like, look at this, here, it was still not a dominant win from Valas. So, with that, we are gonna have one game here for Valas, and considering that Max and Zupi didn't sign up for Red Bull Wololo 4, Valas is hoping to become the other Suomi player alongside Viles to play in the main event of Red Bull Wololo 4. Wasn't a clean game from him in the second stage. The first hop was way better though, so that's something that he's gonna have to build a little bit more on, and I think he needs to be a little bit more aggressive when he has the lead. I understand that he wants to play safe, and also this is a career moment for him, because he has been nowhere close to potentially being in the top 16 of S tier tournaments, so he might be playing this one safer than he normally does. We'll have to see in the upcoming games. One thing is sure, Runestones goes into the hands of Valas, and we're going to have Magyars as a win and Hans as a loss over here. No Cav Archer mirrors, unfortunately, for us viewers. So, now we have the home maps of Slam coming in. Mountain Range, Meadow, Acclivity. Very, very different and distinct home maps for Slam. Mountain Range being a slow-paced, defensive-oriented map, or Acclivity that's more of a relatively aggressive mid-game style map, or Meadow that's an early-game aggressive map. All of these could be a possibility here, I would say, for Slam, but considering that he pretty much had a hard time against Valas in early game, I would say maybe slow things down, going for Mountain Range to settle things could actually make some sense for Slam over here. But I can see the other maps work as well, especially if he feels confident in Meadow or Acclivity. So, let's see. So, oh yeah, indeed, the title needs to be changed, because we haven't done that. Through that, it is Slam versus Valas in this one, because we're actually having live games, we have some downtime in between games, and that means that we have time to chat a little bit about the players, as game number 2 is already coming in. So we will have Acclivity with a 25 seconds countdown with Britons and Aztecs. Indeed, Aztecs, one of the top civilizations for Acclivity, something I much prefer over Britons. So Slam's Britons here might be in a tough position, because Aztecs seems like a reasonable answer to this. By the way, while we're waiting for the countdown to finish, I would like to highlight that Valas, what was his biggest ever performance in S tier tournaments in 1v1s? Basically nothing. He lost in round of 64 qualifiers of Hidden Cup 4. He lost to Slam. Oh, that's an interesting topic to talk about while we're going into Meadow over here. Hello, Capture Age? Wake up, please. We're gonna have Slam coming in for Britons in red, and to the north it is going to be yellow for Valas as Aztecs. The key thing here with Aztecs is to continuously pop out the Eagles, so always go like Eagles plus Skirms or Eagles plus Archers. Eagle plus Skirm seems like a reasonable composition here because you expect the Briton player to go for Archers. Valas is going to have a gold mine that's relatively exposed and it's going to be hard to defend, whereas Slam's base will look like some sort of awkward potato here, but at least he's going to be able to get his walls up really fast. So what I wanted to highlight is Redbull Wololo 3, second qualifiers, round of 16s, so one round before the decider round, Slam versus Valas. Almost the identical scenario, it was just not deciders, but the second to last round, Slam won 3-0 in that best of 5. So that score will definitely not repeat here, first of all because it's a best of 7, and second because Valas took the first game in this one. So we're gonna have the Spearman coming in here to deal with the scout. That's the only reason why it's there, and this is what Britons will struggle against really badly. Eagles plus skirmishers, what are you even gonna do here? And yeah, sure, you have your archers, and archers do pretty decently in feudal against eagles, but when you have skirmisher defense back at home, that's still all good for our yellow player, and he sees the archers coming out. The scout moves in to intercept the skirmishers, and that's a nice fight over there for Slam. Brings up the archers, and this will force Valas to chase. So Valas is actually going to go for a little bit more of a defensive approach. Somewhat surprisingly, he didn't really wall himself up, so he's sort of exposing himself to potential archer aggression, and the house walls are just now coming up. Will be up in time though, so these archers won't be able to get in here at least. The eagles chasing as well, and Valas is not making more eagles. That's something that's that I don't like. I think the heart and soul of playing Mezzo in Empire Wars is continuously making eagles, because you want to have a decent amount of eagles when you reach Castle Age, and especially with Aztecs, you want to switch into triple barracks eagles as soon as possible. So it's actually a fairly big concern for Valas that he's not making eagles continuously, because that would be so helpful. They're decent against scouts, even though not amazing by any means, but they're just a generally good unit to soak up arrow fire, be a meat shield in front of your archers and skirms or so. Let's talk about Slam though for a moment, because he's adding a stable, something that's pretty common when you are up against Mezzo with skirms and eagles. As one other skirm is going to be intercepted, and Invader, thank you so much for the new Prime sub, I appreciate it a lot, welcome. Thank you for the support. So, as things stand, Valas is gonna have its right side very open, which I don't really like. This gold mine could be an absolute disaster for him, and he seems to be going for a fairly greedy Castle Age here. He actually is buying food, not selling the stone though. So, he keeps his options open for additional town centers, but for such a greedy play, you definitely want to have more walls. Good news for him though, he's going to intercept the opponent's army here, as he has +1/+1 on those skirms, and this is why it would have been so good to have some more eagles, because these eagles would have been perfect to deal with these scouts right now, and give some more freedom for the skirmishers to work here. Still, what Valas needs to do is just finish these walls, pop out a couple of skirms to defend, and the archers will not be able to harass the gold miners that way. With the walls up, you don't have to care about the skirms. And now the question is, what is Valas gonna do? The answer, what Aztecs always do. Barracks and eagles. It's only a second one just now coming in, scale mail on the way, but there's the third one. I think this map is a triple barracks eagles map. So, it's... You're so close to the opponent, and it's so easy to break into his base and then just annihilate his economy, that it makes so much sense to just go for triple barracks eagles, unless you lose control over your gold because you haven't made free skirms to keep these archers out. And this is something I'm noticing here for Valas for the second time now, that his decision making seems to be wacky at minimum. Like, he's gonna have the eagle warriors out, sure, and that might be enough to get this, but would it have been so hard to get 2 skirms out here to prevent archers from denying your gold? He could have lost the game on this one. Or, for example, this one, that's even better. An overchop here on the wood line. There is now Castle Age, which gives him the chance to have the Eagle Scouts with the 7 base attack instead of the 4. As no wheels are killed so far, the Scout is relentlessly beating up a house while the villagers are watching. But at the end of the day, no wheels will be killed over here. But more importantly, Squires is missing here for Valas, Eagle Warrior is missing. Obviously, he didn't have the gold for this one. Okay, second town center coming in. He sold 100 stone. No, he didn't sell 100 stone. He actually is selling wood to be able to get Eagle Warrior. And the thing is that despite all that sort of misplays over there, he's still in a good spot because Slam in exchange was very heavy on Feudal Age aggression, so he's just now reaching Castle Age. Now, Britain crossbows definitely have a nice chance at just keeping the distance to Aztec Eagles. The bad news is that the lack of tumbling means that their firepower is somewhat limited, and that's something that is a massive issue when you're fighting against hordes of eagles. And it's gonna be hordes of eagles, it should be hordes of eagles, but guess what? It's none. Not even a single eagle coming out here for our yellow player, and guess what? There is a hole over here as well that Valas will just use to run past, and the first villager kill will belong to Valas alongside the second one as well. And now these eagles will just rampage the eco of Slam over here. There will be some knights being added, but only in small quantities. And by the time they actually start mattering, I think that's minus 4 or 5 wills once again for Slam. Disaster strike Slam over here, I have to say. Because even though I feel like Valas really misplayed the beginning of this game, he once again is able to find real value for the limited amount of eagles that he has made, and Slam has lost 9 wills in this game so far. Now, considering that Valas, for whatever reason, still believes that this gold mine is safe and happy, he might actually lose all his wills over here as well. That's 1, that's 2. Like, Slam is receiving a massive gift over here. If Valas would have had a defensive tower over here, this wouldn't have happened. Nonetheless, at this point, it is Valas with a 7 wills lead right now. Eco upgrades are slightly better for Slam, but not enough to compensate for the villager deficit. Still, for Valas, he's gonna have to take this fight over here. Or potentially go for a defensive siege workshop, but in that case, the Eagles will be free to move up. Free TCs for Slam, using the Britain cheap TCs. Valas is using the market super duper heavily as well. Goes for a TC on the outside for an extra gold mine. Should be relatively safe over here, and he's massing a lot of eagles. As weird as it sounds, there's a chance that Valas will just... Oh, nope. They're breaking into his base. He will have to fight this one now. But I think Valas originally just planned to send all of these eagles forward and go for one more big raid. Because it's very hard to keep those walls up for a long time on this map. It's easy to overchop the wood lines. So it's very possible that he just wanted to go for like one big raid. But, oh, this might actually end up being a perfect trap. Uh-oh, I think Slam is in trouble. Because he ends up trapping himself over here. The mining camp needs to be deleted. Indeed, here comes Valas. And also the house. Delete the house, but nope. They still get a good surround. And Slam now has to scramble to run for the hill. 25 crossbows versus 22 eagles is not really the fight that you want, although Valas is distracted and he's not noticing the crossbows and knights breaking in here, but he's already sending in the eagles, like most of them back. He could have left 2 more here to clean this one up. Still, villager count is now dead even, both players at 3 TCs, as the eagles will come in now to clean this one up. So, with these crossbows around, this actually is annoying for Valas because this gold mine could have been a nice one for him to handle. The big problem for Slam right now is that despite his eco being completely fine, his army numbers being completely fine, he's 26 crossbows against 28 eagles. And the eagles will just clap those crossbows really easily. Like, these eagles could clean this one up without any problems. And now it looks like at least one of the knights will go down here. Nope. Not the case. Free TCs for both players, as no one is mining stone for a castle. In such a stalemate, whoever drops a castle in the opponent's face could be big, and I think Valas is the player that should think about that. He's the one that has the unit composition advantage currently, so it would make sense for him to just leverage this opportunity, send 8-9 on stone, and he could get a castle up in the next couple of minutes. And a castle drop in here would actually be devastating to Slam. Looks like Slam is moving up with a big group of archers. And in exchange, Valas is looking for an overchop or looking for a hole in the wall to send the eagles in. One thing is sure, if Slam is pushing, he needs to go for like one big direct push to take down Vales. But the TCs will slow down the crossbows quite heavily because they can just run past the TCs, or not as easily as Eagles can. So Eagles definitely have the opportunity to just run into the eco and rampage everything. Still, now Valas is going to be in the need of defending his gold mine. Let's see if the Eagles, however, will commit against this part of Slam base. Because if 18 Eagles find their way into Slam's base over there, that could be a disaster. Still, at this point, Valas is losing small groups or just individual Eagle warriors, because those are trickling through the map for him. That's barracks number 4 already. And he could, I think, easily facilitate a 5th barracks worth of production. So far, he has done a nice job at preserving his ego numbers, and that's going to be a big sandwich. This is going to be an enormous sandwich, and could be potentially a game-ending fight for whoever loses this. It looks like Slam is going to outmaneuver the Eagles, but he also knows that that's a lot of Eagles that he's fighting against. Trying to keep the distance as much as possible, but once the Eagles can actually get a decent surround, I did mention that this is where the lack of tumbling and lack of damage output is actually going to strike the Britons really badly. The Aztecs, Eagles will take the hill here, and I feel like Slam's army is going to evaporate. He's doing the best that he can. I totally give him that. That this is an absolutely amazing micro for the fact that he's being surrounded by 30 Eagles. So he actually ends up picking off a will even, but it doesn't change the fact that his entire army is getting annihilated, and it's not like the flood of Eagles is stopping. And while Slam has a couple of knights to deal with this, he's just now dropping a barracks to tech switch into longswords, but that's too late. And now is the time for Valas to commit into this one, or just wait until Slam calls the GG. I think the civilization advantage this time was on the side of Valas, and he leveraged that opportunity really well. 2-0 for Valas. A bit of a shocker for Slam, I would say, and you know, for Slam you don't really want panic to start creeping in, because there is always that debate that Slam seems to have a harder time in tournaments than he does in, you know, ranked games or so. But now it's 2 games down, and urgency has to start kicking in here for Slam, because losing the 3rd game in a row would put him in an awful spot. So the next game is pretty much a must-win for Slam here. He's going to lose Britons in here, and his opponent is going to lose Aztecs with Acclivity, the first home map of Slam, taken by Valas over here. Valas having a 2-0 advantage right now in this one. It's very interesting that Valas is making... Oops, that's the wrong scene. Sorry. So, Valas is making quite a lot of questionable decisions at minimum. But he still ends up winning. It's hard to say why, but so far the 2 games that we have spectated, Valas was able to break into the opponent's base at least once and pick off a bunch of wills, if you remember that. In the Arabia game, early on with the scouts. In this game, early on I think in Castle Age with the Eagle Warriors, he was able to break into Slam's base. So, yeah, exactly. Valas has difficulties closing games, and I think that also Valas has some difficulties, like actually, some decisions are just off. But that's always something that one has to be positive about, and this is what I was always saying, that fixing decision-making issues is easier than, you know, becoming better in micro or macro. Some of that micro-macro stuff requires just natural skill and speed, like the way that your brain processes data and the way that you can execute what your brain tells your hands to do. Whereas on the other side, decision-making is something, you know, just think about it. It's much easier to improve than, you know, the natural skill that you need for micro, macro, and stuff like that. So when decision-making is off, that's always easier to fix. And now Slam believes that he needs to slow the game down a little bit, and we are going to Mountain Range. I think I would have said, looking at his two maps, that it must be Mountain Range for Slam. Meadow is a map that is super aggressive at the beginning, could be very snowbally. Considering that Aztecs and the Magyars are gone for... wait a second. The civs are wrong. The civs are wrong, and you didn't tell me. So the civs are wrong here, but now it's good. And we should be good to go. So with Magyars and Aztecs gone, it would have been interesting to see Meadow, but we're first going to Mountain Ridge. This is one of the most defensive-orientated maps, which could help Slam, you know, slow down the game and make sure it doesn't lose a bunch of vills at the beginning, but it could also make it better for Valas, because Valas seems to be a fairly defensive-focused player from what we have seen in the first couple of games. We will have Slam on the right side as Saracens in red, opening with an archer range. Left side is going to be an interesting Bulgarian opening here in yellow. Why Bulgarians? I don't really know. In fact, I'm completely puzzled by the Bulgarians pick over here. Maybe he's thinking in the dimensions of Kreposts in the middle? I'm not sure. He's not really rolling a lot. And this is the first moment where I'm seeing that, you know, this could be a disaster for Valas here. Because Slam is making quite a lot of archers. And with the Saracen market usage, he could easily get up to Castle Age and go for like 6-7 crossbows. Hitting this part of the base for Valas, that would be a disaster. Also, happy 10 hours, everybody. We just crossed the 10-hour mark in this stream. As things stand, if this tendency continues, I don't think that we'll get to the 12-hour stream mark. But anyways, we are gonna have Valas now going for the walls. He's got a backstone and a back gold mine, so it's going to be relatively well defendable. Market comes in for Slam. Interesting that he drops the market over here. It would have been probably better if he uses it to sort of block some parts of his walls. So those are reinforced. And I think Valas realized that Slam was probably gonna win it. And now we have some archers coming out. Valas knows about it, so there's a chance we're going to see defensive skirms. Or alternative is that we are going to have just walls and Valas will just boom into Castle Age. Now, one thing Valas doesn't know is this hole. And it could be a disaster if this remains open, because crossbows breaking in here could cause quite a lot of chaos. So, we're gonna have Slam using the market as a good Saracen player should, and he's gonna go up to Castle Age. He will have around 8-10 crossbows, so that's something that Valas will have to be prepared for. He's making a stable. Interesting. Valas knows about this hole, but doesn't really care to wall this one off. Same, or not on the other hand. Look at this. On this side, Valas believes that this is one big forest. And he might be lucky if his spearman finds it for him. Oh, he's gonna find it because the scout shows it. Slam, it wasn't intentional, and I'm fairly certain Slam is also angry about that he has just shown his hole to the opponent. Because I am fairly certain that now Valas sees it, and Valas is gonna know that, oh shoot, there is something over there. Or at least he should know it. Yeah, he sees it now. So that is actually really, really valuable information there for Valas, and it could have easily ended the game for Valas if the crossbows march in there. So Slam is gonna be up to Castle Age in 30 seconds, but his archers are still back at home, so they won't be hitting the base of the opponent immediately, which buys some time for Valas to get up to Castle Age and get to a decent amount of knights. He's gonna have +1 defense in already, and he's going for forging as well. Oh, he vaulted the water, true. That's true. This is a nice and interesting wall, because this way you don't have to wall here. You have these walls up protecting you, and this is the leftmost shallows that the opponent can cross at. So, crossbows now coming in. It's only a single layer of palisade walls, and that's always something to look into when you're looking at Saracens, and you see that Valas will go for a defensive tower. I am not really a fan of this. He was expecting a push from this direction, but this is definitely a preemptive tower that will be useless. Obviously, it's hard to decide where to put it, and the best solution would have been stone walls, honestly, because you're up against Saracen crossbows, and you see that now you have just lost your opportunity to make a defensive tower. The good news for Valas is that he's up to Castle Age, and he can pop out a couple of knights with +2 defense. There's gonna be a defensive siege workshop as well with stone walls to protect these lumberjacks for now. And no +2 defense just yet for Valas, something that he has been missing for quite a while on the Arabia game as well. And it looks like Slam will just disengage. He will just say, okay, whatever. Keep in mind that Bulgarians have cheaper town centers in stone cost, so even after building a town, or even after building a tower, you can drop a town center if you want. So once you have the wood for it, for Valas, he could easily drop a TC. For now, he is heavy on gold, heavy on food, but very, very low on wood. Only 6 of the vills are actually chopping wood. He'll probably finish the berries and then send all those vills to wood, and he can drop an additional TC. Now, what is Slam up to, though? He's first of all making camos, which is the right thing, I would say. And he's gonna go for a decent blob of crossbows. Monks are not being added here for him, although I think that could have been a reasonable solution, because he was only up against knights. And is that gonna be a forward siege workshop on this hill by Valas? That feels like a very, very bad effort. There's no way the siege workshop goes up over here. Like, that's an enormous army that's coming your way, and I think that this time Slam is doing a much better job massing army than his opponent does. And I did mention that the game plan wasn't always really good for Valas. And once again, I feel like the game plan is better here for Slam. But this time, Valas wasn't able to do a lot of damage to Slam's early economy, so guess what? Slam is very much in this game, and Slam is leading by massive margin, I believe. And these Saracen crossbows are siege weapons. They can start taking down this table without any questions. So let's see if Slam is actually going to commit to that, or he's trying to find a way into the base of the opponent. Now, with Saracens, you probably want to be a little bit more proactive here if you're Slam, but Slam is going for a super aggressive 1 TC play over here, and with Saracen crossbows, probably after grabbing ballistics, he will try to commit. And the Saracen crossbows can easily melt the work or the stables, probably not fighting against the siege workshop or the tower over here, but you can stay in here and pick off the stables from a distance very, very easily. So, knights are being massed back at home by Valas. He's got +1, +2, gets second town center up as well. But, I mean, +1, +2 knights versus camos, they will be alright because these camos don't have a lot of upgrades, but that's also quite a lot of crossbows supporting. Valas once again is playing very, very defensive here, but I think this could be the first opportunity for Slam to really punish his opponent for playing this defensive. As the crossbows will jump on the Scorpion, Valas will bring in a villager to repair, and that means that the crossbows will have to retreat for the time being. Sam pulling a will for what will probably be a forward siege workshop. Nope, a monastery. And we are gonna have monastery here. This will potentially allow some knight conversions, but I think the priority for Slam right now is grabbing relics. A second stable comes in, so he wants to go for 4 camos over here. Now, keep in mind that behind this one, Valas is slowly booming away. And I think the best solution for Valas would be to just go for stone walls. Because the weak spot on his base is everything that's palisade walled. And now Valas is moving out. I don't think that Valas understands how much behind he is in army numbers. So, let's see. He will soon figure out that he's up against like 28 crossbows and a bunch of camos as well. Soon there's gonna be monks to convert his knights. The thing is that Valas is not leaving his base anytime soon with the army he has. So his best bet is to just boom and play defensive, and then just unleash superior knight numbers when the time comes. However, Slam, I think he's going to soon start becoming more aggressive. He has waited for ballistics, he has waited for a decent amount of camos and a monk. Now he's going to wait until tumbling, but then he will unleash his force. He kinda has to, otherwise his opponent will just outboom him by a massive margin. In fact, the will discrepancy is already 15. So, crossbows now picking off a forward will over here. Valas really wants a forward position here for a siege workshop, so he can actually pump out some manganols and try to take some nice downhill shots. He doesn't really want to fight up hills here. The thing is, however, for Valas that he doesn't need to break out just yet, and especially with 8 on stone, he's getting close to dropping a Craypost even. And a Craypost would be a very, very valuable building at stopping those Saracen crossbows. As for now, Slam is going to retreat to the hill. Scorpions getting caught out of position, one monk gets sniped down. But this was a relatively peaceful game so far, which actually favors Valas. Because, look at this, 72 to 52. The will lead keeps growing and growing, and it starts to get concerning for Slam. Because, like, all these crossbows will be useless if there's a defensive castle up. If there's a defensive castle up, they will never break into the base of the opponent. There's a Craypost coming in first. I like that he's reinforcing the weak spot on his walls. And Valas is once again playing very defensive. This time this defensive playstyle is sort of justified though. The thing, however, is that Valas will soon start running out of space here, so he will need to get some more territory for himself. Slam just adding a second TC, but look at that. I think Valas might be thinking about Imperial right now. With those resources, that could be very possible, and Slam goes for a dock that will eventually get denied. Denied. Nope. It's just gonna be delayed. But this is something I mentioned when I was first looking at this map, that the fact that you have water here could make life a lot harder when it comes to finishing games, because either of the players could add docks, and that could make it really hard to just push through this. It's already very hard to push through the hills here because of the hill advantage of the opponent. You make it even harder by actually having water here that can be dogged. And Valas now sending all the knights over. This is a debatable decision, because Slam still has Saracen crossbows. He can take these buildings down, but it very much seems like Slam has forgotten that he's Slams. No, not Slams, Saracens. So he could just chill here and destroy that thing. And you see that he's even pulling back the archers. He doesn't even want to attack that stable. And with that second Craypost up and Imperial Age on the way, it's a 23 Wills lead. And while Saracens have amazing camels, if Valas gets into Imperial and gets to a decent amount of conics, especially with these knights being hidden here, this could be a big sandwich. I'm starting to see what Valas wants to do. He hides these knights in the corner, waits until Cavalier +4 defense, and then he will come from the back while he's going to make a push on the other side, and he will just sandwich this entire army. Obviously, camels will hold to a certain extent against cavalry, but it's only +1/+1 camels and bloodlines, plus the 10 extra HP from Saracens, but with Valas getting into Imperial really fast, this is going to be extremely hard for Slam to hold, and keep in mind that Blacksmith work much faster for Bulgarians, which means that Valas, upon reaching Imperial, he will almost immediately have +4 defense. This is one of those matchups where it feels like we will have one big fight to decide who wins the game. It's going to be all about one big fight, but it's going to be 20 seconds away from Imperial for our yellow player and 2:20 for Slam. That 2 minutes is going to be very, very long when your opponent has the faster working Blacksmith. And I think that Castle will also do stirrups really fast. Slam actually has a demo here to try and control those crossings. Valas with +4 defense, as I said, coming in blazing fast. As I also saw Scale Mail being teched into. Not sure if that's only for the conics or so, but still. It's going to be for conic Slam. Now, balancing his eco, he will need resources to get the upgrades, and you see that immediately upon seeing his opponent in Imperial, he techs into Iron Casting. I think the idea for Valas is that he wants to break through the palisades right now with the Cavalier. What he doesn't know is that these are already reinforced. Still, Slam is gonna have to pull defensive forces here. Slam will have to pull all his units back, or at least a significant portion of the camos to deal with. Well, it's just going to be +4/+4 knights, but Cavalier is not even being teched into here, so I guess Valas should be content to fight this. Valas needs to fight this one. He can't escape, and what is Valas doing? That's a disaster for him though. If he just fights it, he's going to be able to take down at least some of the camos, and that opens up the way for the conics. Now, speaking of conics, now we have more and more coming in the middle, and there will be creposts all over the place. And the creposts will very much limit the movement of the arbalasts over here. I'm still not really the fan of, you know, conics versus eventually heavy camos, but definitely better than Cavalier eventually. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, and I did mention that I think the unit composition is not necessarily favoring Valas over here. Neither does the numbers. Slam still has the numbers. Slam always had the numbers advantage, he just never committed. And guess what? Now he takes the hill and he denies the crepost. Valas never had the unit numbers to fight, and that's why throwing away those knights was very wasteful. I said that there is gonna be one big fight in this game, I believe, and whoever wins that wins the game. And now, Slam, if he gets Bracer and Chemistry alongside Arbalest with the heavy camo, he's gonna win the game. And this is why I criticize this map really heavily, on the basis of being very stalematey and very defensive focused. That, man, I feel like this game is all about booming and then one big fight. It's probably my most hated map of the entire map pool. It's flat out awful. So, like, Valas could buy Imperial Age once again, but I think it's just gonna be Elite Conic, but I think he overestimates the potential of Conics when it comes to dealing with camos that have Zealotry and Arbalest. And remember that Slam has some demos over here. Slam doesn't need to rush it anymore. His eco is still weaker, but the problem for Valas is that he's just unable to capitalize on his economy, right? He doesn't really have the production and he's now taking into barracks, but what is he going to do against Arbalests? I have no idea what he's going to do against Arbalests here. As the Conics will launch a counterattack, Slam has very good vision over the middle. So you see that he almost sees everything, and this is extremely important. Because this way he can react immediately to this one. He's going to dispatch the camos to fight this one with Arbalest on the way as well. Oh man. I mean, once you have good conic numbers, this is gonna be a devastating force. But it takes some time to get those conic numbers up in this one. Free TC is still for both players, but Slam has a relatively weak eco, 89 wheels, and he doesn't have Zealotry on those camos. I think the problem for Slam is that if he loses this army, he's going to struggle rebuilding it. It's going to be much easier for Valas to rebuild an army than it is for Slam. Still, it is disturbing, like, Slam is playing disturbingly passive here. Like, that many Arbs would just walk up on that Crepost and destroy it from closer. Oh, it looks like now Valas is going to pull everything he's got, and he's gonna go for a castle this time, not a Crepost. It looks like the game-ending fight is nearing, and I don't think that Valas has the numbers right now to fight this one. I'd count 31 Conics versus 22 Camos with underarming upgrades, I should say. Only +2, +1. But a decent amount of Arbalest. Arbalest also missing defense upgrades here, as it's going to be a Crepost at the end for Valas. So it looks like Valas doesn't want to fight. Neither of the players actually want to fight this one. Okay, now... Nope. Nope. He's just using the Conics as a meat shield right now, but he's letting all those Conics being picked off. Like, it's disturbingly annoying how passive these players are playing this one. Like, this is one of those games where it's like, can I just say that no one wins this game? Because right now, none of the players really deserve to win this one. No one is actually doing anything to win this game. Slam is definitely playing for a long game, so he's just chilling, holding the middle. He has 4 relics, so Slam doesn't need to rush. On the other hand, Valas was just booming back at home and never really made an effort to, you know, fight at all, or even make a huge amount of army. Now it looks like he will finally commit, but this is probably the worst possible time. His conics are chilling here, he's fighting up hills. I don't think that this is enough for Valas over here against the hill. That's quite a lot of halberdiers though, and the camos are fairly weak. Conics, most of them dismounted now. I did mention that Slam is gonna have a harder time replenishing his army than his opponent did. The camos are all gone, but there is still a group of arbalasts, as, guess what? The conic numbers are pretty much gone. Now I see Stirrup's Hussar coming in. Still, the good news for Valas is that he dealt with the camos for a time being. The bad news is that he's up against a million of arbalasts that will hold this hill forever. Oh man, I have no idea who thought it's a good idea to have this map in the map pool. Like, the enormous hills here just guarantee you will have stalemates like this one. I understand Slam wants to play safely, but at this point, Slam is like, okay, I have the hill, I have the relics, I'm just gonna wait until you come to me. He's not actually entitled to fight whatsoever. And that's probably the biggest problem with this map. I think that Stirrups is still also missing for Valas. He's going to try a light cap counterattack that ends in a disaster. Oh man, look, just someone end this game, please. It is painful to watch, especially after 11 hours of casting. This game is painful to watch. Like, as things stand, this is a candidate for my top 5 worst ever games I casted list. Someone care to do anything? Like, Valas is just once again taking the awful fights that he has done in this entire game, and Slam is like, I'm just gonna wait. I have 5 relics. I will sit here. Another counterattack is going to come in here, and once again the Arbalasts will have the hill advantage, and we're going to see the exact same thing. Conics get cleaned up, and Slam is just going to keep holding the hill. The Wonders of Age Vampires. Now that's actually a better fight for Valas than I initially thought it would be, and if he has Stirrups on those Conics, holy smokes, this might be enough. This might be enough, and if it's actually enough to clean up these Arbs, Slam is gonna be in a bit of a trouble, because from that point on, he doesn't really have a great army anymore. He's gonna retreat to the castle, but I have to say that if there was a little bit more cavalry here for Valas, he cleans this entire thing up over here. As now there's castles all over the hills for Slam. Beautiful farming as well in the middle of nowhere by him. But now look at the army numbers, and I did mention that there's 61 on foot for Valas. He's just going to spam Stirrups Hussar and probably some Conics as well because he's got some gold. Setting up the traps over here at a quite unfortunate position, so he's firing up hills. But I think that the next step for Valas, if he actually wants to win this game, is sending those Hussar right into Slam's base. This is wide open for raiding. 10 Hussar here, and Slam's eco is going to collapse, and that might happen in a matter of moments. Slam is going to have to chase with camos, potentially. And once again, I don't think that Valas is actually maximizing his opportunity here. But I kind of feel like once again we're seeing the exact same thing that we have seen before. Valas is having some very, very wacky decisions, not playing very amazing. Yet, on the other hand, his opponent is still losing to him, so I guess Valas is gonna be like, okay, whatever. And keep in mind that for the majority of the game, Slam had the bigger army. Slam could have potentially destroyed Valas over here very, very easily, and it would be a heartbreaker for Slam if he would be down 3 games. And remember, game number 4 would be Meadow if Slam loses here. And Meadow is a map that's super, super cutthroat, very, very aggressive. Something that could snowball in 5 minutes or so. Now, Slam is going to be able to take down one trap over here and ignores the others until he turns back. Now the thing is that Valas is now trickling in units, and the result is somewhat obvious. He's just losing unit after unit after unit, and considering that he lost 2 of his traps, Slam will have no trouble keeping this castle alive. for time being. There is onagers though, and Hub and onager will be something that Slam might have trouble against, especially because I don't see a single bombard cannon on the field for him. Valas, on the other hand, needs way better Halberdier production because his numbers are very, very underwhelming. Right now, there is still a decent amount of stone in the bank for Slam that ensures that he can keep that castle alive, but obviously that castle holds all the relics that Slam has. So if that, or that monastery holds all the relics. So if that monastery goes down, suddenly Slam will have no advantage over his opponent, and I did mention that light cav raids might be the name of the game here for Valas. I'm gonna tell you that if Valas wins it like this, there is a chance we will see a 4-0. Because at this point, Slam should have easily won this game. Like, for the majority of the game, he had the army that should have just destroyed Valas so much. And now, you see that light cavs are raiding, which is going to make Slam unable to replenish his army. Slam is at 19 camels, 5 arbs, and now he's facing a Halberdier flood. This might be over. Because now it's Halberdiers and Stirrups Hussars, as Slam's food economy is in a massive jeopardy. He's floating 4,000 wood behind this one, but with this castle going down, the relics will soon be ungarrisoned, and it would be an absolute heartbreaker for Slam. As I said, I think he needed a slow-paced map to settle down, calm down a little bit, but it would be a massive upset if Valas actually went for a 4-0 win here. That would be brutal, in fact. But as things stand, we're getting closer and closer to that. So, with Valas now having the light cav numbers advantage, he's about to take down this monastery, which basically guarantees that he's gonna be the one with 5 relics. He hasn't picked up a single one yet, but anyways. And now you see that Slam is going for his own light cav, but he's missing Blast Furnace, he's missing +4 defense. By the way, Slam, I think he never got Zealotry for those camels, right? I don't think that he has gotten it, as the other castle's being threatened. Onagers need to be careful not to friendly fire over here, but this is getting better and better. For Valas, and obviously it would give him massive motivation going into game number 4, and I think this moment over here, this just summarizes what we have seen so far in this set in terms of score. And now I feel like with those arbs going down, remember that Slam is slowly running out of gold, another big onager shot, and Valas wins it. Slam taps out 3-0. A shocker, I would say. A shocker for me as a caster, a shocker for you as viewers, and a shocker for Slam being down 3 games against Valas. And when you talk about Suomi, Vilas is in the main event, but the other possible candidate that most people would have thought about when it comes to qualifying is Max. Max didn't even sign up. Valas 3-0ing Slam so far. And he's winning. I'm not saying that Valas is playing perfect. In fact, Valas has many issues with his gameplay, I believe. But he's outplaying Slam here, that's for sure. And it's interesting to look into the fact that at one point Slam had like 25 crossbows and 5, 6, 7 camels versus like 4 knights here. And he could have just sat here with the crossbows and destroyed the stables. Even that would have done something. Slam wanted to play for a long game, he secured the middle with the Saracen crossbows and camels, but then he sort of started to sit on that lead and just say, okay, I'm gonna wait until my opponent gets to me. And I guess his opponent got to him, and as I said, this game might be about one decisive fight, and it is over. And that one decisive fight was fought on this hill, where the Arbalasts got surrounded. Most of the Arbalasts died, and from that point on, the Halberdiers were able to just clean up the camels. Slam tried to remass his Arbalasts, but that was too late at that moment. And so far, a massive surprise here from Valas. Bulgarians will be a win here as well for him, and Saracens will be gone for Slam. And what's more important is that we are going to Meadow which is a super duper aggressive situation. So we are gonna jump into the lobby for a moment. I'm going to take half a minute of a break or so, because who knows how long this set is going to be. So hold on for a moment while the players are setting up the next game over here. We're going to jump into a bit of a break. It's just going to be like, what, half a minute or so? No, we already are starting. We are starting already, so I guess no break for me. Let's hope that there's a spec countdown so I can at least run away for like 20 seconds. Nope. No break for me. No break for me. That is going to be exhausting. Yeah, I would really much love to visit the bathroom right now, but you know, live games, sometimes the players take 20 minutes to set up games. Today they seem to be really fast. Let's see what we have over here. Mayans for Slam on the right side in red, and Indians for Valas in yellow. So Indians is not necessarily an ideal civilization for this map. In fact, it's actually quite underwhelming. Mayans generally seem like a way better choice in this one. So, oh, slam, 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 slam. I mean, that's an awful start once again. The first thing I see in this game is Slam running into the TC fire with his eagle, and bye-bye to that eagle. Oh man. Oh man, that's an awful start once again. Luckily he can make more eagles because he's Mayans. And he's going to wall his wood line off. Civilization-wise, I think Slam has the advantage, and he also has closer wood lines to his base. So I think if Slam doesn't win this game, then I think this deserves to be a 4-0, because I think looking at the map, looking at the civilization matchup, this should be winnable for Slam. So it's going to be scouts, and I think the big deal here for Valas will be Indian Light Cavalry. Indian Light Cavalry is something that Slam might struggle against with Archer build. On the other hand, I think Slam needs to go full Eagles in Castle Age, because Indians quite struggle against Eagles. They don't have their own knights, so the best thing they can do is like longswords. There is some fish in the corners, but I don't think that this justifies picking Indians. It's a couple of tiles of shorefish with no chance to build a mill here. So that's more like an aesthetics thing, not something that's actually going to impact the game at all. Now the scouts come back. They go for attack upgrade first, interestingly, and not defense upgrade. Okay, Valas changes his mind and goes for defense upgrade, which makes quite a lot more sense. As the scouts are now coming in, they will intercept the eagles. There is no spearman here to fight this one until now. So Valas will be able to trade a scout to an eagle scout over here for the time being. We're going to have 2 mills from him, by the way. He's actually taking berries on another spot as well. Slam is only on 1 mill right now, going for a lot of farms, just now grabbing horse colors, so some of his farms will be without horse color, but that's not the end of the world. I still value that he did grab it. And now it's going to be scouts and skirms from Valas over here. So, we are gonna have Valas coming in here with the cavalry. I think he's waiting for one decisive engagement. He needs to snap down the spearman and then he can take this fight, and he will. Not necessarily an ideal fight once again, because the scouts should prioritize the eagles here in an effort to try and make sure that the skirms stay alive. So you see that it would have been better to take down the eagles here, but still, Valas is going to clean this one up, and he's not that far behind compared to Slam in resources. So this is still troublesome for Slam at minimum, because Slam has lost his entire army over here. He's working towards Castle Age, but right now it's double ranges, so I assume he will continue crossbows, and Indians will be more than happy to go for Elite Skirm, or maybe even Cav Archer. Indian Cav Archers here could work quite nicely. Originally we anticipated Magyars to be used over here, but Indian Cav Archers also work out really nicely. Now the scouts come in, and remember that Indian light cav would be a very, very nice addition in general, because they just stomp archers. Slam is gonna have to switch into Eagle Warriors eventually in Castle Age. Currently is getting pushed back, both players will hit Castle Age at the same time, but once again, look at the fights that Valas is taking here. He's actually taking down expensive archers over here with scouts and skirms, and he's the one applying pressure to Slam over here. Slam actually not clicking up just yet, so he's gonna get beaten to Castle Age over here, as Valas is going to go for a second stable. It's gonna be Indian light cav then. It could work. The win condition now for Valas is to flood that light cavalry, because in case Slam goes for Eagles, that's going to be troublesome to fight, but Slam is going for a third range. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. The Indian scouts for Valas, first of all, he can actually mess them very, very easily in while going up. So he's gonna have like 5, 6, 7 scouts out by the time he reaches Castle Age. And he's gonna get the extra Pierce Armor with the Castle Age as well. The only thing I'm missing here for Valas is a couple of defensive skirmishers against this group of archers, because these two won't be able to stop 7 archers. Nonetheless, the scouts should be able to jump on these, but obviously Valas wants to preserve his numbers, so for now, he will just stay in here with these in order to be able to potentially get a surround later on, as it's just going to be double stable light cavalry play from Valas, whereas for Slam, he's going to go triple range archers. Now, triple range archers is very, very devastating to fight against. But there is definitely ways that you can battle that. With a defensive tower on your wood line and stone walls around your base, there's going to be limited opportunities for Valas to break into your base, and then you can just go for raids with light cavalry. Because the wood lines are pretty much untouchable right now, but the light cavalry could easily overrun the starting eco of Slam over here. It looks like the light cav are looking at the wrong place for the archers as they're going back home. Currently, we have 19 archers against merely 10 light cavalry units, but as you see, these already have a 4 pierce armor, and that will be 5 if Valas grabs the +2 defense, which is not something that he can afford right now, should be able to grab it like now. So, now it's going to be 9 light cav, and as I said, what Valas needs to do here is leverage the mobility that he has over the slower moving army of the opponent, plus the ability that he can run past TCs, whereas his opponent won't be able to. So his TCs, if they are positioned well, they will be able to protect the key resources. Walls are coming up here for Slam. I think he saw the light cavalry, so he knows that he needs to finish these walls in time. Some of these walls are very, very weak though. So let's see if Valas is able to get in before the opportunity goes away. I don't think so. Valas is just a little too late to the party, as this light cav is going to pick off a couple of crossbows over here. Big crossbow blob moving towards the base of Valas over here, but the TC should be able to hold off these crossbows for the time being, as Slam is gonna go for a fast thumb ring over here without ballistics for the time being. He has a university, but he doesn't have the wood for ballistics. So, at this point, it's a somewhat puzzling decision to see Slam going for the crossbowman, because he probably should have anticipated the Eagle or the light cav switch from Indians. Eagles would probably have been a better solution, and considering that it's light cav, you can't even go for monks. Your only alternative would be to add pikemen now. So far, Slam is playing very defensive, but look at this. While Slam is playing defensive, his opponent is booming on 3 TCs, and Indian cheaper villagers will soon outboom Slam here. So, the thing is that Slam doesn't want to fight because he knows that his opponent's army is too big for him to fight against, or too strong with 5 pierce armor. But that also means that basically Valas is gonna have a completely untouched 3 TC boom with Indians, and as I said, it's relatively easy to keep those TCs working with the cheap Indian vills. So you see that you already have an 8 vills lead, and even better, Valas is just going to say, okay, whatever, I'm gonna run into your eco, and just absolutely shatter it. This is a disaster for Slam here. And at this point, I think Valas is happy to just lose those light cav for vills. That's basically it. He probably needs to send them all the way to the back and force Slam to chase, and indeed that's exactly what he's doing. So, the thing is that as long as these are here, Slam cannot move out of his base, because immediately as he moves out, Valas will come back and raid his opponent to death. It's already a 16 wheels lead for Slam, or for Valas, and it's going bigger and bigger. There's already a forward siege workshop coming in to try and contest the wood line. I'm not gonna lie, this is looking like a 4-0 to me. And I'm not saying it's an upset that Valas has beaten Slam if he actually ends up winning this game. But it is definitely going to be a surprise that it would be a 4-0. And you see that Slam moves out. Immediately, right after that, you have a bunch of light cav running in here. And while this crossbows may just try to kamikaze strike here, I feel like if you look at the TCs of Valas, he has TCs protecting his key resources, and Slam has lost everything here. Slam is down to 34 wills. He's got one thing here, a group of archers. If this group of archers is done, then it's game over. There's a hole here. But look at this, Valas is even paying attention to this one. I think Valas knows exactly that this is Slam's final kamikaze push here, so to say. And I mean, Slam's got nothing. Slam has absolutely nothing. Obviously, Valas doesn't like losing that many wills, that's for sure. But he knows exactly, just like in the first game, that Slam has absolutely nothing to back this one up. So if he cleans this army up here, he should be all good. He needs a defensive siege workshop though. And the villager KD is kind of close-ish, but it doesn't matter right now. At least Valas will be forced to retreat here, and this buys some time for Slam, but as I said, Slam has 1 on food, so every 25 seconds that he's not making a will, which is quite fast over here considering that he doesn't have food income to make wills, he has to kill a will for Valas to compensate, and that's not happening. And when the Mangonels reach back home, there is little chance for Valas, or for Slam to clean this one up. So yeah, sure, he's doing a lot of damage and the idle time on Valas is crazy, but Slam has a lot more idle time even. And I think it would have been easier for Valas to just make a siege workshop back at home and make a Mangonel. And once again, I don't think that Valas is defending against this one really well. In fact, this is a pretty potato defense if you ask me. Obviously it's a big group of crossbows, but it's unthinkable for me how you don't have a siege workshop here to make Mangonels, and why you're waiting for Mangonels to come from here to here. But still, Slam is at 35 wills, and Mayan's army is relatively cheap. Oh, Slam is going nowhere. Slam is not gonna leave the base of his opponent here, that's for sure. The best thing he can do is try to kill as many wills as possible. Slam is just now getting back on food though, so it's going to take a lot of time until Slam rebooms. Now this is definitely a good-ish fight for Slam in terms of killing wills, as the Mangonels of Valas stop moving forward, but as I said, it might seem like a massive massacre here by Slam, especially because Valas once again is just messing around with his Mangonels, but here's the deal. This is still double the wills for Valas, because Slam wasn't making wills the whole time, so he's now starting to add wills once again, and the next wave from Valas should be able to finish off Slam. And once again, Valas had some pretty potato moments, like this defense was awful. This defense was absolutely awful. And now, however, there is gonna be very little that Slam can do. He's got crossbows here, a decent group of crossbows to be precise, but at this point, Valas will be 69 wills against 39. I'm not saying that, you know, this is as good as it could possibly be for Valas, and Slam actually killed more wills than Valas, but once again, the situation is that when those wills were killed, they were more impactful when Slam lost them. Now, let's see. Is Valas going to make the same mistake again? Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. Valas doesn't deserve to win this one either. His play is also awful here. I feel like, you know, this is going to be tilting for the players that actually got a much stronger opponent than either of these players, because there is some of them that, you know, got a very tough opponent in the last round, and they will be like, come on, man, I could have won against either of these two, and I could see people complaining about that, honestly. So it's like, one of these people will qualify for the main event, where players like Yo, Hera, Viper, Lear are running around. I can tell you that even if Valas qualifies and, you know, he gets into the main event. If he plays like this one, he's gonna be stomped like crazy. Okay, now it's a cleanup, and this should be enough for Valas to potentially seal the deal here. His economy is still almost twice as large as the opponent's eco, although once again, if only you had the Mangonel back at home, that would be so amazing for defensive purposes. But who am I to tell? I feel like this was just so painful to watch. The first two games were interesting. The previous game was an absolute pain to watch, and this one is also bad. It's just bad, because it feels like it's about who's making less mistakes, not who's playing better than the opponent. Still, if you look at this, it's blatantly obvious that Valas has a massive eco lead, and while the army for Mayans is definitely cheap, Slam is getting his TC Mango down. Slam has 4 villagers on wood, which means he can't make farms. If there is no way to make farms here, then he's going to run out of food eventually. Like, Slam is gonna have to make a fight here happen, otherwise he will have no wood income. And there is gonna be a decent amount of light cav over here for Valas to take that fight. Valas actually wants to dive in, but now he sees that there is gonna be crossbows. I like this. He splits off some of his light cavalry to kill the Vills. Some of them will just force the crossbows back, and the Mangonel will try to chase here. An Eagle finally comes out here for our red player, Slam, and guess what? It also kills 2 Mangonels probably, or at least 1 at minimum. The Mangonel here is ready to take a shot, but it's not going to happen because I think a big upset over here. Valas 4-0ing Slam, and Slam seemed to have a really rough time in every single game, so to say, really felt off today. Whereas on the other side, Valas also had some underwhelming decisions, bad execution in some cases, but generally speaking, he was the one that played better. That's it. Neither of these players played amazing, and I have to say that now that Valas qualified for the main event, he really needs to clean up his decision making, and I think the execution was alright, so his micro is more or less on point, but stuff like this, for example, that the crossbows are running around inside your eco for 20 minutes because you don't make a siege workshop back at home and wait for your Mangonels to come from here to here, is not something that you can actually afford against a player like Leary, or not even a player that's outside of the top 10. So, Valas is going to be the second representative from Finland, not the Finnish player that many would have expected in the main event of Red Bull Wololo 4. Vilas will be accompanied by Valas over here. I'm looking forward to casters messing up the 2 players in names. As I said, this wasn't clean from him, but he definitely played better than Slam, and ends up winning this set in this one. It's a sort of a heartbreaker for Slam. It seemed like he really had a rough day in here. So, sad day for Slam. I think Slam played in the previous Red Bull Wololo, but this time he wasn't able to qualify, as Valas is going to be an upset winner over here. So, congrats to him. The biggest moment of his career, so to say. And yeah, let me just check if Slam was actually in Red Bull Wololo 3. He wasn't. He wasn't in 2 either, and he wasn't in 1, I believe. Slam? No, he was in Red Bull Wololo 1, but the last time Slam played in Red Bull Wololo, he was in Red Bull Wololo 1. Not in 2, not in 3, and not in 4 either. Falling short to Valas this time. In the first qualifiers, he actually fell to Brew. So, in that one, he reached round of 16s. This time he went on to the deciders, but falls to the surprise player, Vilas, or not Vilas, it's Valas. I said so many times that players or casters will confuse the names that I'm starting to confuse myself, but after 11 hours of casting, I'm going to say that's alright. So, yeah, congratulations to Valas for moving into the main event of Red Bull Wololo 4.